Hey guys, and welcome to the first ever Tap and Go podcast where we talk all things rugby with players, coaches, and pundits from across the world. My name is Matt, and with me is Freddie.
Hi guys.
And today we have a world-class fly half, a real superstar, Lima Sopoaga. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, boys. Thanks for having me on tonight. We had played the Cheetah in the quarterfinal at home, and it was packed out. Like the zoo was going berserk.
The zoo's nuts.
Yeah, like it's honestly like my favorite place to play. Like obviously that's a little bit biased, but like you got the zoo there. Like the tickets are dirt cheap. The students are just drunk off their tits, going berserk. Like there's a DJ in there playing music. And they're just going crazy, they're enjoying themselves, they're yelling, they're screaming, they're dancing, they're drinking, they're doing whatever.
From the media, from parents, from friends, everyone's suddenly your best friend, everyone wants to get close to you, everyone's trying to, if you get distracted and the people you're competing with do not get distracted, you can get beat. This is what happens. This is why favourites lose. And it happened to England. It's never been explained. And I was in the commentary studio with Brian Abana and Johnny Wilkinson, and after 10 minutes, we started off, and I can see now Billy in a pole has passed the ball behind. Farrell, the ball's gone down. We started so badly, and after 10 minutes, I've said to Brian Abana, "This is I'm pleased what I've written in the paper, because I've said this is not going to be a 20-point game. This is going to be close." And all I know, all week's time, I think there's just so much confidence, and there's so much stuff in the papers. In Japan, it was reported that England had already organised a victory parade in Trafalgar Square for the Tuesday after the World Cup. And if you know these South African players, that would have been on the team room wall, massive, about Wednesday. Yeah. And you South Africans, just see them, these massive big lumps from South Africa, just sharpening their studs, going, okay, let's wait till Saturday.
My wings, I've got nailed on the right wing, Johnny May. Fast track. He's probably got one of the most all-rounded games in world rugby as a wing. I think he's brilliant. However, that means I have got 4 wings on the left wing. Got Anthony Watson, Elliot Daly, Josh Adams, and Stockdale.
I think Josh Adams will be getting a nod from me, because I think Watson would be on the bench for me, because he can cover fullback as well. So then
see, of the 5 players I got Gats to pick, Anthony Watson was, I think, the first player he picked.
Really? That's a surprise. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's what's so difficult. But then Elliot Daly at altitude, just knocking balls over from 60 metres. And we know how tight these test matches can be. Yeah. Hard to ignore. Josh Adams, the top try scorer at the last World Cup. Yeah. He might be the first player to be top try scorer in the Premiership at Junior World Cup and Senior Men's World Cup. Like, he scores tries.
So that's kind of where you would meet, and that's where they would hold like functions or these parties. So for the parties and all of that, which do happen, you go to these houses, and I think the most famous one, it was pretty good, is the Dutch house. It was pretty cool. I remember you get invited, you get tickets and stuff like that. It's kind of weird, but like you kind of befriend some athletes in the village, and then they go, okay, I've got 20 tickets to the Dutch house party tonight. Okay, hectic. Mad, see you there. I remember I was there one night, and one of their athletes won a gold medal in, I think it was, I can't even remember. And like, it's a big ceremony. Like, they kind of like walk up like a kind of red carpet. Everyone's kind of there. Everyone's in orange. The whole house, like, it's a big mansion, but it's all in orange. And there's like a DJ, like a famous Dutch DJ there playing, and like they get the medal put on them there. And there's like orange confetti everywhere. And like, yeah, it's pretty wild.
So obviously in 2016, you then won Try of the Year. And so obviously that try was it was quick rugby, offloading, everything. Was that something Ireland were trying to do? Or was that just a one-off and it came off?
No, definitely not at that time. It was not something that we were actively doing, I suppose. But we Just one of those. You know, for me, I feel a bit embarrassed winning that try, if I'm honest. Yeah, I was just lucky. I ran that line hundreds of times. You know what I mean? And never been on the end of it. It's usually a winger going in or a centre going in. If you actually look at it, Ferg McFadden is so reluctant to pass me the ball at the end of it. Especially when he looks up and he sees me, I think he's like, oh, Jesus. But look, it was, I think it typified the team at the time. There was a lot of individual talent in that team that worked very well together. I mean, particularly the backs. I mean, like Sexton, Zeev, Sharpayne, Trimby, Ferg, you know, they all kind of link up. I think there's something like 11, 12 passes in that phase of play. And I think it's that sweeping movement, obviously, from 22 to try line is what's so appealing. And that it is a really good collective try as such, and not down to any one individual brilliance. I actually, like, honestly, I felt so embarrassed going up and collecting the award. I was just like, I didn't really do anything. I fell over the line, but I'll take it on behalf of the lads. Thanks. But look, yeah, I think that typified Joe's process of the collective being stronger than any one individual. And it was, so in that regard, it was a very proud moment to be at the receiving end of the collective.
I guess something we're all missing is like outings to rugby stadiums like Twickenham. What's a typical sort of outing for you to Twickenham?
It's like going to church, guys. For me, it's a real. I mean, I'm not religious, but if I was religious, it would be like going to church. My only religion, I guess, is rugby, and I go to Twickenham to lash to the gods. So I mean, normally I just go there and I'm on Guinness all day. You know, I get up in the morning. I normally get on the train from Clapham Common to from Clapham Junction to Twickenham. I normally sing like Swing Low, Sweet Chariot at least, I think my record's 20 times, but at least 15 times, and everybody loves it. I'm already chewing down a few, chopping a few Guinnesses down, singing it, and they absolutely love it. They just, the whole crowd just enjoy it. I get there, I chop more Guinness, and I just go through the day chopping beers. When I'm in the stadium, I'm also, because I've got a great intellect of rugby, I will also tell people around me who are not necessarily I know, but I'll just tell them, you know, about the game. I'll just point out things, or, you know, I'll let the referee know. Obviously, sometimes the referee can't hear me, but I'll just make sure everyone around me knows that the referee might have got a decision wrong. But it's great fun. Love Twickers. It'd be great if they did like a club night at Twickenham. That'd be amazing. That's a business idea there, actually. Yeah. Don't steal that. Don't steal that, guys.
Got it. So, you talk about Swing Low, Sweet Chariot there. Is that your favourite rugby chant of them all? Or is there any others which...
I love the song More Lash, 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 More Lash.
Oh, you don't hear that at Twickenham very much.
More Lash, 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 More Lash. More lash, more lash.
You
done? So I like lash, 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 or any of those. That's a little bit of a tinkling on, because I don't know if you realise the third song I sang had no more. It was just lash.
Yeah. Straight down to the basics.
So normally you sing lash first, and then you sing more lash afterwards.
Got it.
Because you would have had a bit of lash, and then you want some more lash. And that song, More Lash, is really good to sing when you finish clubbing, because you're like heading home. More lash. It doesn't work by yourself. I have tried it by myself, walking back from Infernos. It's better when you're in a group.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for the tip. Was there much of an initiation process before? So with the squad, did you have to do anything? We've had some quite funny stories from previous people.
Yeah, so the initiation afterwards is a drink with every member of every player and every staff member. So
I can imagine after being the All Blacks, that was a lot of drinks.
So like we're in the showers and, you know, boys are lobbing bottles and one of them's hitting them with his dick and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Just like it's loose as it can be. And then all I remember actually is I completely forgot about the cap ceremony. So then, like, boys are piling me with drinks and I'm absolutely shit-faced. And they're doing the speeches and I'm like sat there hammered. I can hardly speak, whatever. Next thing you know, the president of the RFU or whatever is like, oh, we'd just like to take this opportunity to welcome Freddie Burns up on stage to collect his cap. And I'm like trying to walk through the tables, like elbowing people, like struggling, giving my cap. And as I'm walking back, Dan Carter stops and sort of shakes my hand and has a few words and stuff. And I'm just like, and like, you know, when you're trying to talk to someone, trying to concentrate, but you're just sort of like swaying. That's all I was doing. And then I sang on the bus on the way home, and the rest is history. I just woke up on the bedroom floor of my on the heated floor of my bathroom at Penny Hill Park with a little pile of sick cooking next to me.
What do you sing?
I sang Don McLean, American Pie.
Oh, classic.
which actually I must say the story, which a year later we toured Argentina with England, and we weren't really allowed out and stuff like that, and we managed to blag a night out. And Stuart Lancaster took us to a karaoke bar, staff and players, and Ben Foden's got up and sang, Paul Doran-Jones has got up and sang and all that stuff. They've called me up to sing, and Richard Wigglesworth looked at me and gone, mate, I dare you to call up Stuart Lancaster afterwards. I dare you to call up Lanny to sing, right? So I've sang, I sang something else, and I've sang, and I've just started going, Lanny, Lanny, like this. He didn't want to get up. He's got up to sing, right? He's picked Don McLean, American Pie, but the one that's got a 4-minute instrumental in it. Oh. So he's had to sing and then stand on stage for 4 minutes, dying before finishing. Yeah, I don't think... how I got capped for England again after that, I never know, but he hated me that night.
Hey guys, a special treat for you all today as we're joined by punditry royalty. Not only has he won over 250 Premiership caps for Leicester and Harlequins, but he has over 50 England caps and went on 3 Lions tours. He was an integral part of the 2003 Rugby World Cup winning squad. It is, of course, none other than Will Greenwood. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm great. So, I work in TV now. And I'm going to ask you to do that again. I'm going to ask you to not do it with your notes. I'm going to ask you to trust that you know enough about me to be able to do it, to deliver it in a manner. So I would say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Freddie Hanbury. Just recently left Eton College. He's starting at Exeter on Sunday. He's the king of podcasts. He's joined by his mate, Matty Mitchell, also left Eton, heading to Brown, an American university, coming up soon. Here we go. Let's rock and roll. So you've got enough information about me. I want you to be less wooden. I want you to come at it hard. And I want you to... give me a little bit of you, Freddie. That was too stilted. That was too red. Go.
Okay. Morning, ladies and gents. Glad to be back with you again. It's me and Matt here. We're joined today by someone with over 250 Premiership caps who went on 3 Lions tours and was, of course, part of that 2003 winning Rugby World Cup squad. Is, of course, Will Greenwood. Thank you for joining us.
Perfect. Much better. That people will never know what you've left out. That's the key. So you might have thought, oh, I left out a couple of bits there. But that's the thing. Learn your stuff. Learn it in advance. Get it prepped. Bam, bam. I sound like your teacher. You just left school, and here you go. You're getting a Lambda lesson from me. Sorry, Matt. Right, your turn. You've now got to do the same intro without the notes, but you were obviously listening, so you can go for it. Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our second last episode of the Tap and Go. Here we have punditry royalty, 250 appearances in the Premiership. Played on 3 Lions tours and obviously part of that famous 2003 winning side. Welcome, Will Greenwood.
Beautiful. Nice one, fellas. You can cut that out if you don't want to use it. We can start again, but go for it.
My passion was always in rugby. I think I was the only person ever to get work experience in soccer and then asked to move out of it. But I ended up in the rugby department. It was 2001. It was pre-Alliance tour, and it was just mega, absolutely incredible. And so my 2 weeks became 4 weeks. I stayed on and worked over and above, and then actually said to the executive producer, look, if I'm in Australia, can I be the gopher and the T-boy for you during the tour? And he said, yeah, sure. If you're out there, come and work and we'll look after you on game days. And I spent my student loan at the time going to Australia with a couple of mates. We drove up and down the East Coast following the tour. And I just was absolutely incredible. And the moment, genuinely for me, the fires were lit was I was on the first test. This is way before your time, which is very depressing. But it was the first test between Australia and the Lions in 01 is a sort of fairly iconic game, and the Lions played incredibly well. And about an hour before kickoff, I was meant to be sitting in a truck out at the back of the stadium, pressing a button every time someone made a tackle. And the kit that I was meant to be using broke, and so there was nothing for me to do. And half an hour before kickoff, and I was not much older than you two, and a proper sort of passionate fan about it. Someone just said, "Look, there's nothing for you to do. There's a pitch pass. Go and watch it from the touchline." And I walked out into the Gabba in Brisbane on the day that any Lions fan who watched it will remember. I mean, the Lions fans turned that stadium red. And I was walking. I mean, it's actually funny enough, it makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck now. And I walked out onto the stadium, and I just was like, "This is the holy grail. This is what I want to do." And I ended up sitting on a chair at the end of the Lions bench. I mean, it was the day that Jason Robinson lit up the pitch. Driscoll scored his wonder try, and I just was like a 19-year-old kid, the classic pig in shit. And I just at that point thought, whatever it takes and whatever opportunities I can engineer, this is what I want to do. It's really good fun.
See, one thing I touched on the introduction is you've gone from the likes of School Rugby playing the likes of Owen Farrell, and obviously it was only your second appearance for Wasps when, I mean, I'm sure most have seen the clip, you got absolutely fucked up. Did Owen come see you after the game and sort of apologise and stuff?
Yeah, well, so I think there was about a 15-minute period between getting knocked out and then me actually, my memory coming back. So the moment I remember from there. So, obviously I was knocked out by Farrell, lying on the floor, face down on the ground. And, I woke up, I was having conversations with the doctor. There's photos of me, on my knees, they're checking my neck and stuff. And then I remember on BT, on the camera, you can see me get up, walk over to Farrell on the sideline, shake hands with him. Then I go back to the changing rooms, wash my face and stuff, come back out and sit down in the stands. And then that moment I sat down in the stands is the first thing I remember from. So the whole time, like it was obviously me awake, but it wasn't really me, if you know what I mean. So he apologised on the touchline, but I think he knew I was kind of out of it at that point. So he came back to the change rooms after the game and asked the coach to grab me, and so he shook my hand, apologised quite a few times. So I could tell how upset he was, and it was genuinely just a mistake. So there's no hard feelings there or anything.
Pretty good story to be able to tell as well. So
yeah, it's a good pub story.
One final thing before we finish is very, very early on is you had a slight, I'm not going to say professional wrestling career, but you're involved with wrestling.
Yeah.
And you had links to the WWE, and you actually took part in one amateur show. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I had links to WWE. I knew a friend of a friend of a friend was there, but Triple H doesn't know who I am. Is the point? But yeah, so back when I was at Cambridge, I was part-time. I was labouring on a building site by day, doing the kind of rugby by the evening thing, living the dream, of course. And I went to a show called Progress Wrestling. It was done in London, and it was their first ever show. So I went along, really enjoyed it. I don't really remember how, but I ended up speaking to the guy who ran it, Jim Smallman. His name is. I think he's one of three that ran it at the time. I think it was because he was from Leicester and I'd been to Leicester Academy. So I was like, oh, this is my in. Like, Leicester. Yeah, I was there. Anyway, so I had that connection, and then ended up going along to their school, like their wrestling school, Projo it's called. Went to that a few times, and then they had this idea for a show called Endeavour, which was like a sub show where you just like, it was mainly for like the trainees to kind of get some experience in wrestling with like actual people coming to pay to watch, but obviously like everyone knows it's people that are just coming up. And yeah, I had a match on there. My name was Crisis, but spelt weirdly as Krisys, I think it was. Had Down with the Sickness was my entrance theme because I fucking loved that song. got on the eBay and found myself some like knee pads and some short shorts, and gave it a whirl. And I really loved it. It was really good. And it was like it'd always been something that I'd like wanted to tick off the bucket list. I was like, I have to do it at least once. And I suppose the only downside was that I only got to do it once, because shortly after I got signed at Pirates, so I had to move from Cambridge down to Cornwall. So I only got to do it once, and I don't think if I went to George Skivington now, I was like, look, I know this rugby thing is very important and all, but WrestleMania 50 is coming up, and I want to be in with a shot, so it's definitely on the back burner. But who knows? I there's an article in I think it was Rugby World last couple of weeks, and they were talking about some of the comparisons between rugby and wrestling, and I gave my 2 cents on it, and it made me think maybe if I get to like 35 and the body can still move some sort of way, then I can put some muscle on and give it a go.
What's a sort of particular message, like one message that you try to give off to the other players in the squad as a captain?
I think my sort of message with that is that that I'm going to lead from the front. I'm not like, I don't have to tell you all this talk about, or I'm not going to say, hey mate, let's go and do extras, but I'm not going to do them. Like, if I'm saying something, I'm going to be doing it too. I've got to live my words through my actions. And that's sort of something I try to do, lead by example in a way. And I think the more you do that and earn their respect through doing the tough stuff and, being one of the last ones out there, being the first ones in, trying to look at film, help people out wherever you can, be diligent with your physios, be on time for things, then the less I have to say, then hopefully it becomes just a way of things which are doing. And that's, a lot of it has been, like, I haven't had to, change a lot, because that's how a lot of our guys are and have come through that pathway. And that's sort of how you get to this level, I guess, by being professional like that. And a lot of it's just that, trying to be genuine and do what I say.
As long as you're happy to talk about, I think we'll start with your injury. And can you tell us a little bit about that day?
Well, do you know what? It was pretty much like today. It was the first sunny day of the year, but it was a bit warmer than it is right now. As you said, it was in April, so I was recovering from a shoulder injury from when I was playing at the Dragons at the time, and I'd had another shoulder op, so I was sort of laid up from that, waiting. I wasn't going to be fit until the following season, so I went back home for the weekend to my parents' house near Bath. Obviously, because it was hot, went round to our closest friends with a swimming pool, as you do, and effectively after lunch, went down to the pool, dived in to what I thought was a deep end. Turned out to be the shallow end. It was like a feature pool, so it wasn't that obvious. And what I thought was a couple of meters deep only turned out to be a lot less than that. Hit my head on the bottom. Didn't lose consciousness, but knew something was wrong straight away. I'd never really banged my head that hard. But it was when I tried to swim to the surface effectively that I realised something was seriously wrong, because I couldn't move. So I dislocated the bottom of my neck, as you said, and that had left me paralysed from the shoulders down. Luckily, my dad was in the pool, and one of my mates pulled me to the surface. And that marked the end of my rugby career and a long journey of sort of recovery and a lot of change over the last 4 years.
So we've got a couple more questions left, but we want to sort of take a step back and look at, I guess, the All Blacks and rugby as a whole. And I was sort of wondering who, in your opinion, was the greatest All Black ever?
The greatest All Black ever? I don't know. I'm an NRA. I love the All Blacks. I loved all the history of it. The Dave Gallagher, our first All Black captain. The Colin Meads of the world, Brian Lahore. You mentioned Jonah Lomu, Michael Jones, Sir John Kerwin. I just love. I was fortunate. I played in a really special era of New Zealand rugby, and played with some of the most phenomenal athletes you'd ever play with, and some really good people. The Zinzan Brooks of the world. So, who's the greatest All Black? It's a hypothetical question. In an era, Colin Meads was probably the greatest All Black in his era.
John Alomu might have been the greatest in his time. Richie McCaw, just, what Richie did, to play 149 internationals. I think he started in 148 internationals, to win 2 World Cups. It would be hard to go past Richie. But I look at great All Blacks and think, to be a great All Black, you have to be able to get in the World 15. That's how I, in terms of great All Blacks. But no, I couldn't name one of them because they're all bloody good.
If anyone having that conversation,
I think my time too, we sort of changed from, and the Steve Hansons of the world, Grant Henry, Laurie Mains, John Hart, those sort of coaches, Brian Lahore, they were big on picking good people. We might not have been the greatest All Blacks, but they wanted teams of good people, and I think that's something that we hold dear to ourselves is humility. And we don't really talk about great All Blacks. We don't even have reunions for individual teams. We have reunions for All Blacks. We don't have a reunion for the '96 All Black team that won, or the 1987 All Blacks, or the 19. We just have an All Black reunion, which sort of typifies that where once an All Black, always an All Black, and it's about the jersey. It's not about one individual team or one individual person. So that's already got around your tricky question, man.
Troy, thank you so much for coming on, for giving up your afternoon. It's been really fun for us, and we hope you've enjoyed it as well. And thank you to everyone else as well for tuning in and listening.
Yeah, lovely to meet you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Come on! Come on!
Thanks for listening to the Tap and Go podcast. I'm Guy Thompson, and I'm a Looseheads ambassador, the mental health movement normalising the conversation in rugby. Head over to looseheads.co.uk and get 15% off at the checkout now with code TAPANDGO. Take care.